Reports are emerging that a rift is widening amid growing tension between Prince Harry and King Charles.
The door was closed, the decision was waiting, and according to this dramatic account, Prince Harry's desperate final plea was about to collide with something far more powerful than family emotion, the authority of King Charles himself. And here is where this story becomes almost painfully explosive, because the scenario being presented is not simply about two royal titles disappearing from a letterhead. It is about a father supposedly being forced to choose between protecting the monarchy and preserving whatever remained of his relationship with his youngest son. The account claims that King Charles sat behind closed doors while Prince Harry's appeal was placed before him, including deeply personal handwritten references to Archie and Lily. He allegedly read those lines twice, placed the appeal against the desk, and then faced the question that had apparently been hanging over the palace for years. Could family affection keep delaying an institutional decision? The Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles represented far more than glamorous words. Within this narrative, they were portrayed as the final formal bridge connecting Harry and Meghan to palace life after their departure from official service. Removing them, therefore, would not merely alter how the couple were introduced. It would symbolically slam shut a door that had remained cracked open through years of interviews, accusations, arguments, and attempted reconciliation. And Harry, the account suggests, believed that door could still be saved. He supposedly expected anger, he expected conditions, he may even have expected a warning. But what he apparently did not expect was finality. Then came the part that changes the entire emotional temperature of the story. The response supposedly contained no negotiation, no private concession, and no promise that the matter could be reconsidered later. According to the narrative, the dispute had moved beyond reconciliation and become an issue of institutional authority. That distinction is enormous, because suddenly this was no longer being portrayed as father versus son, it was crown versus uncertainty. Palace machinery was allegedly already moving. A statement had reportedly been prepared, wording approved, and a release time fixed. Prince Harry's plea may have reached the king before publication, but the decision-making process had supposedly begun long before that final appeal landed on the desk. And here is the brutal detail the account wants the audience to notice: the monarch allegedly still had the power to stop it. He did not. Harry supposedly read the rejection without shouting, without exploding, simply staring at the final sentence while Meghan watched his expression change. But beneath that verdict sat another mystery. Someone inside the family had apparently argued strongly that the Sussex titles could no longer remain protected. Who? That unanswered question immediately pushed suspicion deeper into the family itself. And that is where this royal drama stops looking like a simple dispute over status and begins resembling a battle over loyalty, responsibility, and power. For King Charles, the account frames the decision as a terrifying test. Could a king defend the monarchy without destroying what remained between father and son? For Prince Harry, it allegedly looked like proof that every possible route back had finally been locked. For Meghan, thousands of miles from the palace, the message was equally devastating. The separation was apparently no longer being treated as temporary. The narrative describes Harry holding the phone in silence while Meghan understood what had happened before he even spoke. The royal styles had connected their public identities to the institution, and without them, the account argues, their relationship with the monarchy would enter an entirely different chapter. Yet the supposed victory inside the palace did not look much like celebration either. King Charles is described staring toward an empty chair where his son had once sat during family meetings, understanding that protecting royal authority might simultaneously destroy fragile attempts at reconciliation. Harry had supposedly lost the title. The king feared something much more personal had been lost. Then Meghan reportedly asked the question hanging over everything. Was this merely about how the titles could be used publicly, or was the removal permanent? Harry's silence supposedly provided the answer, and almost immediately another concern emerged: Archie and Lily. Would the children now somehow experience the consequences of a conflict created by adults? The narrative offers no reassuring answer. Instead, attention turns toward William, whose position is portrayed as considerably harder. William supposedly believed that royal status could not remain a protective shield for someone criticizing the institution while continuing to benefit from its authority. But according to this dramatic telling, his reasoning was not purely constitutional. Years of Sussex accusations had touched his wife, his father, and the future institution he was expected to inherit. Then comes one of the account's most provocative details. An earlier draft allegedly contained language allowing the titles to be reviewed again if circumstances changed. William supposedly crossed that possibility out. The reason given was was chillingly practical, uncertain language could supposedly create another endless cycle of demands, briefings, public pressure, and negotiation. King Charles allegedly saw the revised sentence and did not put the softer language back. And from that moment, everybody interpreted the silence differently. Prince Harry supposedly believed his brother had finally sealed the door. Meghan allegedly saw the palace stripping away their final protection. King Charles apparently believed further delay would only deepen the damage. But the account then points backward toward the confrontation it claims changed everything, a private Windsor reconciliation meeting where years of bitterness finally crashed into questions of royal privilege. According to the source narrative, months of criticism and public humiliation had not individually triggered this outcome. Instead, the alleged breaking point came when Prince Harry arrived carrying demands involving continued access, ceremonial recognition, security guarantees, and protection of the Sussex title. The gathering was supposedly meant to separate family reconciliation from royal status, allowing personal wounds to be discussed without automatically restoring duties or privileges. But that separation apparently did not survive the meeting. The private audience became the moment where everything supposedly stopped being about advisors, statements, and carefully managed palace language and became painfully personal. Charles and Harry were now facing one another with nobody sitting between them, yet the crown seemed to occupy every inch of the silence. Harry demanded to know whether Charles truly intended to take away something connected to his wedding day and public identity, but Charles reportedly insisted that nobody was attempting to erase him. Then came the sentence that apparently shattered whatever hope remained. Harry could not abandon the responsibilities attached to royal life while simultaneously demanding permanent possession of the authority flowing from it. Harry pushed back immediately. With aides, lawyers, and secretaries absent, there was nobody else to blame for what was being said. Charles framed the issue around whether royal authority could continue unchanged after years outside official service. But Harry saw something far more personal. Harry accused his father of protecting William's future while punishing the spare. Charles did not shout. Charles reportedly held his ground and argued that love could not require every royal boundary to collapse whenever his younger son felt excluded. Charles allegedly wanted stability. William wanted consistency and worried about precedent and what continued hesitation might mean for future generations. William argued that royal titles could not evolve into permanent personal brands detached from service while still receiving their authority from the sovereign, and reportedly approached the issue even more clinically, warning that whatever happened now could establish expectations lasting far beyond the people currently involved. Charles listened while confronting the possibility that signing the authorization could cost him his relationship with his son forever. William reportedly argued that uncertainty was already damaging everyone, while Catherine, Archie, and Lily remained caught around a conflict that seemed incapable of ending, and pushed the file forward with a devastating argument. Delay may once have protected Harry, but now delay was protecting the dispute itself. Charles finally signed, but reportedly added an instruction that the announcement must not insult Harry, Meghan, Archie, or Lily. That detail makes the entire scene even more emotionally contradictory. The royal status could be removed, but Charles apparently refused to allow the palace announcement itself to become an attack. Yet careful wording could not prevent what happened next. For Harry and Meghan, the confirmation supposedly felt less like constitutional housekeeping and more like being pushed from the final room they still occupied inside royal history. The following morning looked completely ordinary, and that normality almost made the situation crueler. Phones vibrated, messages arrived, organizations began rewriting biographies, media descriptions changed. Harry stared at the announcement while Meghan asked the simplest and perhaps most frightening question of all: what remained now? Harry reportedly tore the statement in half before gathering the pieces almost immediately, as though anger could provide only seconds of relief before reality returned. Meghan discovered an old wedding program containing the words that had once defined their royal position and silently put it away. Then another message arrived from Charles' sorrow, but apparently no regret. And that distinction cut deeper than almost anything else. Charles could feel pain and still believe he would make exactly the same decision again. With reconsideration apparently gone, Harry turned toward William, searching for one final truth. Had his brother wanted humiliation, or had William simply accepted an ending that Charles believed the monarchy could no longer avoid? According to this dramatic account, that conversation would not deliver reconciliation. Instead, it would expose something potentially even more painful: the possibility that behind all the anger, neither side believed there was any safe way back.